If delegation has not worked for you in the past, I'm almost going to guarantee you've skipped one of the 4 steps that I'm going to share with you now. These are simple delegation steps. They work if you're working at a quick serve restaurant and you're teaching a 16-year-old their job. They work if you have a new CFO and you're showing them their new job. And here's what the 4 steps are. Step 1, you watch me and I'll explain what I'm doing. Step 2, we'll do the task together. Step 3, you do the task, I'll watch, and you explain what you're doing. And step 4, you do the task and come to me if you have any questions. Now, let's put that in a smoothie company. So you have a 16-year-old person and you bring them in and you say, first you watch me do the job. Okay, so you just stay and observe, I'll explain what I'm doing. Next, we'll do the task together. So I'll be making the smoothie, you're making the smoothie, we're working together. And of course, we may have to do this step more than one time. Maybe we have to repeat step 2 a few times. Then you're going to do the job and I'm going to watch you do it and you're going to explain to me what you're doing. And then you do it on your own and you come back and tell me how it worked out. It's those 4 simple steps. If you do those 4 steps, it's not going to turn into a disaster because you're walking with that person all through the task. So they're coming from not knowing anything, watching you, you're training, finally you're releasing them and they're doing it on their own. If you follow those 4 steps, now you're delegating, not just abdicating. Now let's break those simple delegation steps down and we'll look at each one in a little bit more detail. So the first one, you watch me do the task and I'll explain what I'm doing. So first you select the person who you'll delegate to, and as we learned in the last module, you want that person's natural skills and abilities and personality style to match the task you're asking them to do so that they can win. So first you choose that person. Second, you agree on what will be completed and by when. And third, you agree on quality standards and metrics that will define success. So let me explain a little bit further. So here's how this step might look like in real life. So I've written a script that uses just a typical example of how this could look like in a real work environment. Emma, you're going to learn how to schedule shifts. Today, I want you to watch me do the scheduling for Wednesday and ask any questions that you have. Then on Thursday, we'll schedule Friday shifts together. On Friday, you'll do the scheduling and I'll watch to make sure you're okay. And then on Monday, I want you to schedule Tuesday's shifts on your own and you can come to me and see me if you have any questions. Here are some sample metrics and standards. So let's take our scheduling example and plug it in here. By when? Well, by next Tuesday, I want you scheduling on your own, so you need to prepare up until then. Completed to what quality standard? I want no mistakes in the schedule. I want the schedule to work perfectly starting on Tuesday. Completed within what budget? It's not going to require any budget. You can just go ahead and take this over. It's not going to require any money. And completed using which resources? Well, you can use me as a resource because I'll help you when you need help. And completed with help from which people? Just me. I'm the only person you need. Now, if it was a more complex job, maybe you would use more resources. Maybe there would be a budget put into there. Maybe we'd have to outline quality standards. But you see the principle. I just want to lay out for you what my expectations are in completing this job. The next step is we'll complete the task together. So now you're sharing the responsibility for completing the task. This is a time that you want to discuss specifics about the job. You want to give any coaching appropriate to getting it done well. You want to let them know what's worked for you in the past, what hasn't worked. Like now you're passing the baton. So I think of delegation as a relay race. So up until now, you've been the only person holding the baton and the other person is behind you. They're watching you run holding the baton, but now they're coming up to you and they are taking the baton as well. Now you're both holding onto it as the baton passes. Now the third step is you do the task and I'll watch while you explain to me what you're doing. This is your opportunity to make sure the person is doing the task the way you want it done and that they understand what you're doing, because you can still coach at this point. You can avert disasters. This is where this is different from abdication. This is delegation. You're not just walking away. You're making sure that this is done up to your standards. It gives the person the comfort of knowing that they're not being abandoned and they're not being set up to lose by just being thrown out to the wolves on their own. And now you've largely been freed up from the task. Of course, from now on, you want to keep an eye on that person and the task by periodically checking in on progress. You want to delegate, not to abdicate. And the final step is you do the task and come to me if you have questions. So here you want to set up a feedback loop and just let them know what sort of access they have to you and to other people. Now, further on in the course, I'm going to get into a lot more detail about setting up a feedback loop, but they need to know that they have access to you if they have questions going forward.